Jets versus the undefeated Vikings in London Sunday morning. New York at 500, but feeling the pressure heat up a little after a boring 9-point loss to the Broncos. Actually, only scored 9 points, didn't lose by 9. Here's Robert Saleh. Take a listen.
Pressure in New York? When you win, you're going to the Super Bowl. When you lose, fire everybody. And that's the world we live in. That's the world we embrace. We attack each week as a new week, which every week comes with the extremest amount of pressure. But we're made for it. We're built for it.
Okay, your reaction?
Well, first of all, I think it's very nice of Coach support the team wearing a nice Jets tie.
They need this one, Coach. They need it.
Sometimes you win in New York and you get fired.
So on the quote, I don't know why everything has to be so heightened with the Jets. I just don't. Like, if they win, I don't think many people, except for people that openly root for the Jets and have predicted them to go to the Super Bowl from before the year, are going to say that team's going to the Super Bowl. And if they lose, I don't think people are going to be calling for Robert Saleh's job that aren't already calling for Robert Saleh's job. So I don't know why he felt the need to speak that into existence. What I will say is this. I think this could get very, very ugly for the Jets.
If they lose.
No, No, I'm saying I think this game would be very, very ugly for the Jets. Rodgers is banged up. I think Breece Hall and Garrett Wilson are frustrated. It is a massive coaching mismatch in a game. The London games, to me, always take on, like, coaching matters more because of the weird prep and travel and all of that. And Minnesota, like, playing the Jets is a little bit of a breather for the Vikings after playing the Niners, the Texans, and Green Bay. And playing the Vikings is a massive step up in competition for the Jets after playing Tennessee, New England, and Denver. So there's a lot of factors where I think if we're talking about, from what Saleh said, Coach, are we going to be putting him in the Super Bowl or putting him on the hot seat? There's a lot of reasons to believe it's more likely the hot seat conversation after this weekend.
Well, when you go get Aaron Rodgers and he walks in the building and says, "Oh, that Super Bowl trophy looks lonely," what do you think is going to happen? When you follow it up with, "Oh, we embrace the expectations, what do you think people are going to think? Okay, you're also in New York and your logo is all gas, no brakes. What do you think the expectations are going to be from the Jets fans? And then you have the disappointment last year where he gets hurt, and you fast forward to this year, and you've revamped the offensive line for the 17th time, and you've done all these things to go all in and position yourself to win. So the fan base and New York is going to expect you to win and win big, and that is a absolutely fair expectation in this situation. And when you lose, there's extreme disappointment, especially when you lose to a team that Zach Wilson beat prior. So that's where the whole balance of expectations is. When you set them high, don't be surprised when people hold you to high expectations.
Yeah, I disagree with you, Nick, on his quote. Saleh's right on the money. And this is New York. Like, I've been a part of the New York media. Everything is overblown. Everything is magnified. If a player says or a coach says, "Yeah, we think we're going to win the game," the back page is you made a guarantee, right? Like, it is if you have an argument with a teammate or a coach on the sidelines, the assumption is these guys will be mortal enemies for the rest of their careers. And that it could be the next day they're out having a beer together. Like, this is the New York media. Coach, you dealt with it.
Yeah.
And everything is blown out of proportion.
If you don't put a period at the right point in a sentence in a press conference, the meaning of what you said will be changed dramatically. Then it's on the back page. Then it's on talk radio. Then it's an issue. Then the owner's reading it, and the owner wants to understand why you said what you said. And you had to be so careful in press conferences not because you're trying to hide everything. I mean, you're protecting competitive advantage, but you didn't want all the headaches that came with misspeaking about one thing that was then going to be transitioned into, hours of walking it back.
Should have gone the other way. Flood the Zone
Should have just gone crazy. Well, there were other coaches in New York that did that.
You could have had your own podcast.
Yeah.
A week ago, we were talking about them handling prosperity. They were 2-1. We're talking about them handling prosperity.
But that's a game. But I guess my point is.
I think Rodgers has played into it.
Right. We were talking about that because that's what Rodgers said.
It would have probably happened anyway because it's New York.
Go ahead.
Oh, sorry. I was going to go to the game.
Yeah, go ahead.
Vikings defense, this game, coach. Here's the statistics. They've been excellent, obviously. Brian Flores is working a little magic over there. Rodgers, meanwhile, 2 games that they won, excellent. 2 games that he's lost, hasn't played good. So here's a question. Obviously, I'm a huge Vikings fan now. Have been for at least 2 years. Flores' defense has flustered Daniel Jones, okay, CJ, Brock, Jordan Love. All great, last 3 great quarterbacks, not necessarily the most experienced quarterbacks. Brock came up to him and said, hey, your scheme is crazy. So I would put all 3 of those guys, Jordan, probably better than Aaron Rodgers, play better than Aaron Rodgers, but obviously Aaron Rodgers has seen more. Is Brian Flores' defense and these blitzes going to be as effective against a veteran like Rodgers as they were against the younger quarterbacks?
They shouldn't be, and Aaron should be able to do a good job of recognizing what they're in and then being able to either check the protection, check to some sort of wide receiver adjustment, things like that. But know what's going to be a huge factor? Cadence. Cadence is going to be a huge factor because when you have the hard count, when you can mix the counts up, blitzers will show where they're going to blitz. They'll declare what the coverage is. That gives Rodgers information. So if it's like last week where they can't stay on side with the adjustment of the cadence, then it'll be a huge problem. But if they do a good job with that, now it creates a lot of opportunities for plays that aren't necessarily there or can't be recognized by a younger quarterback.
No, when back to the New York media, I personally, and I said this, I thought the cadence quote was taken out of context. I think Saleh just said, I don't know if we're good enough to handle the cadence. That doesn't mean we're changing the cadence or anything like that. And so, look, it's going to be tough to beat Minnesota, but Rodgers needs to win this game, period. He needs to find a way to win this game. If he's not washed or half of what he used to be, then he should be able to go out and win this game when they need it.
Oh, okay. I mean, listen. I don't think Rodgers is that good anymore. I also think that is almost an unfair expectation. Minnesota is demonstrably better than this team. Minnesota's played a far tougher schedule. They have been far more impressive. And I agree with Coach's sentiment that Rodgers should be able to deal with the blitz better than these young quarterbacks. I thought that was a really smart question. But I also saw Rodgers and this offensive line totally flustered by Denver's attack. And Denver's defense, by the way.
Do you remember when Denver ate up Tampa Bay and Baker Mayfield?
Yeah.
They're pretty good.
No, that's what I was about to
I don't know if anybody realized it.
No,
they're pretty good.
That's literally what I was about to say. Is Denver's defense, I think, has been underrated because the focus has been on Bo Nix and the quarterback. I don't think Denver's defense has presented as many problems this year as Minnesota's has. It's maybe equivalent or is similar. But Minnesota's defense, up until the second half of that Green Bay game, when they were up 28-0, had played almost perfectly through the first 14 quarters of the season. Rodgers is not fully healthy. You're already down a starting offensive lineman from the game before in Morgan Moses. Right. I just think this is a hugely problematic matchup for the Jets. And I understand what Brew is saying about the New York media, but so much of this has been there is a small New York media fire, and then Rodgers or Saleh pour gasoline on it unintentionally or otherwise. Maybe it was taken out of context, the cadence thing, but Rodgers' snap reaction, he's smart enough to know, well, I didn't hear what Robert said. Let me wait and see. Or, you know what I mean? He could be well, I didn't hear it. I'll talk to him. His snap reaction was to say, no, everything's fine with the cadence, hold the guys accountable.
His snap reaction was to say the truth. That's what you should say.
But the nice thing for the New York media right now is they don't really have to look that deeply for problems. They're willing to. Right. Aaron is willing to put Saleh out in front.
Okay, but here's the thing: Aaron Rodgers went on McAfee, and then today in London, he said they have a great relationship. Now you can take him as he's lying, but is the New York media going to blow that up? that they have this great relationship. Saleh said it too.
But Chris, what's the honest thing? The honest thing is when someone asks you in the heat of the moment and emotionally, and you just react based off of how you feel,
right?
As opposed to when you have a lot of time, like, oh, that's probably not good for the team. I'm going to go on McAfee and dial this back.
Here's another
thing. I think, Coach, look, you see, and again, you probably dealt with it. A lot of times, we only see things, we see a very small portion of what really is happening. If two guys get into an argument, like Kelsey and Reed, when Kelsey bumped him, now we know their relationship was great, but say we didn't know that. We might think Kelsey hates Andy Reid.
You are absolutely right. You see a fraction of the dysfunction and things that go on in an organization. But what does Aaron Rodgers consistently do? He consistently tries to make people aware of problems. Remember when he was in Green Bay and they went out to L.A. and they got beat, and he's like, well, you know, the coaches, we weren't prepared. Like he goes out of his way to make sure that everybody knows. And he thinks he's being so subtle and smart about it.
And also,
but it's so obvious.
It wasn't the coach. Can I have a hug?
No,
just trust me. There we go. It wasn't the New York media that if Coach Wright then and there, when I said, "Can I have a hug?" pushed me in my chest, and then was like, "Oh, sorry,
no,
you
but
threw
Nick,
me off."
It was the New York media.
I actually thought about pushing me in the chest.
They hugged each other after the game in the tunnel. It was visible. They gave a low five in the game after that. And I don't know their relationship. I'm just saying, I think if you're being fair, we can't say it's a terrible relationship.
Just quickly before we go to bed, who cares? Like, does it matter? They have to be friends?
No.
Like, you call, like,
well,
I'm running the defense.
it's been blown out of proportion, like they hate each other.
But does it affect the on the field? If they lose this game, is his job actually in jeopardy?
Well, no, I don't think his job's in jeopardy losing this game. And I don't think they have to be friends, but I think there needs to be a level of respect there that is mutual, because the quarterback matters and the head coach matters to the rest of the team. And when there's a level of disrespect there, then the rest of the group is like, oh, okay, well, maybe this guy's not who we need to follow.
And the hug thing was not. That is a story if it happens between Purdy and Shanahan, or CJ and D'Amico, or.
We don't. I mean, so Rodgers was just completely lying in his explanation.
That is the. I put that in the same file in my brain as Stephon Diggs and Sean McDermott last year.
Yeah, look,
it's like, yeah, it was a thing, but actually it wasn't a thing.
You just don't know, and I am not comparing myself to a pro athlete in any way, shape, or form.
Well, you can throw the ball 65 yards.
I mean,
in college, I had a blow up with the head coach during the game, right in front of everybody during the game, and our relationship was fine. At the end of the year, he gave me the coach's